Welcome back to the X Podcast. I am sitting here with Tim.
Tan Tim.
Tim.
Tan more. Although you're getting a little sun too.
I know. Monday, Memorial Day. Well, we're aging our podcast immediately.
Yeah,
but
you are.
Was so deceptively hot. It thought it was going to rain, but it was 70. And I was telling you, I don't know how, because I've been in the sun a lot, but just got blistered. But you come back from Florida, so you got just the bronze
tan.
The bronze, man. And we are here with a returning guest.
Yeah.
Brock. Always say the first E wrong. Everhart.
It's Everhart.
What do you prefer?
Everhart.
You always
the
say
real
E.
version.
You always say Brock Everhart. And then
Brock
messes with
Everhart.
me.
Yeah.
Wait, do I? Now I don't
Yeah,
know
you
what
do.
I say.
You do. Brock
Brock
Everhart.
Everhart.
Yeah.
Returning guest. You were just host 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Which is the last time we've talked. No, we joked offline.
We avoid each other.
We're those
since.
friends that make plans tentatively
Cancel 'em.
over tacos, and then they just, next week we'll do it. We'll do it. And so this is going to be me getting to hear about your life, but while millions of other people
Yeah.
do as well. I mean, millions upon millions.
Millions. It's a pretty big podcast.
But you were on, well, let me say this. I don't know if I told you this, but a few weeks ago on a Saturday, I did, I try to run, 15, 20 miles a week. And I went to Schiller Park, my favorite. No, well, you'll know in a moment why that's not a flex. And I got, to the park to run a little 5K. Sounds more impressive than it is, just 3.1 miles.
3.1 miles.
And hit one of those euphoric runner's highs.
Oh, nice.
And ended up running 10 miles. Not fast. I will not even, my speed is not impressive, but 10 miles where I was just like, man, I felt on fire.
That is awesome.
And, it's almost like this false high. Any high can deceive you. So I'm like, I can do anything. So then I drove to the gym, had a workout. Then I drove here because I was preaching the next day to rehearse and get ready. And the moment I walked in the church, I was like, I need a nap. and I went to one of the couches. I was like, I hope nobody shows up. I literally went to one of the couches, set a 20-minute timer, and was like, I need 20 minutes for my body to recover before I go back in to prepare.
Yeah.
And so, but I was feeling proud. I was like, 10 miles. And then I remembered, son of a gun, Brock Everhart, who doesn't run miles or dozens of miles, but hundreds of miles. The last time you were on, you were getting ready to run your first 100 miles.
Yeah.
And then you just got back from Coco Island where you ran
257. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the Coco Donut 250, but they added some, so it was just under 257 miles. Yeah.
257 miles.
And he did it all in one day.
All in one day.
Impressive.
No,
he didn't. He's setting some world records here.
Yeah. But no, so it was, you have 125 hours to complete it. And so set a lofty goal, which I unfortunately did not meet, but that's okay. Ended up 98 hours and 56 minutes, so about 56 and a half minutes. So over the course of, just over 4 days.
That 98 hours and 56 minutes, is that what you said?
Yeah.
So just under 99.
Yep.
What was your goal?
Yeah, so my goal was actually 80.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
wow. So the problem was you slept.
Yeah, and so that was one thing again, though, too, is you just don't know how what's gonna come of that, when you're trying to, and so we can talk about that a little bit further at some point instead of the two, but the nights get super interesting when you're on very little sleep.
So that 98 hours, that's straight.
Yeah.
And that includes eating, sleeping.
Yeah.
There's no point in showering.
No.
That's eating and sleeping.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Or you eat on the run.
Yeah. So
sure.
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Yeah. So eat on the run, and then also it's like you would come into an aid station at a given mileage.
Okay.
And we actually did have an RV. We had a team. So my wife was the crew chief. My daughter was there, and then 3 other guys as well. And so then they were pacers. But then you just go to a certain point, you see them, you eat something, and then at some point, you get a little bit of rest. So I slept for about 6.5 hours total during those hours. But then, so you just kind of just go as far as you can, and then when you need to sleep, and then you sleep for a little bit, then they wake you up, and you get dressed, and you eat more, and then you take off again.
Remind people what a pacer is.
So a pacer, so for instance, so I had 3. But then at given sections, that pacer will be with you. So we were not allowed a pacer until mile 77 of this race. So mile 77 is actually when I took my first nap, so hour and a half sleep. So after that is when my first pacer came with me for roughly like 20 miles or so the two. So at that point,
it's just somebody to run with.
It's somebody to run with, have conversation with,
so you don't go crazy.
Safety purposes, yeah. And then also, again, to help you just find the trail, help you find the markings on the trail as well. And so then, you have that stuff on your watch, you follow along the best you can, but at the same time, again, now you're at 30-something hours and you've only slept for an hour and a half. And so then things kind of get a little bit.
You can fall off. So it's a trail?
Delirious. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So
like, where was this again?
So this was out in Arizona. So it actually went from Black Canyon City, just out of Phoenix, and went through Flagstaff. So it was 257 miles, about 40,000 feet of climbing, 40,000 feet of descent along the way as well. And so it's trail. There was definitely some pavement. You're going through some cities, some towns and stuff as well. But I mean, there was one mountain, for instance, there too that we climbed that was.
Wait, is it a trail that winds you back, or you're going from that location to that location?
That location.
Okay.
So it's one way.
Wow.
Yeah, and so then the team basically they drive along as well. So we had like I said, we had an RV van.
Yeah.
And also we had rented another SUV as well. And the team's just following along, and I would just get to a certain point and meet up with them. And so there's actually 2 different sections of the trail as well that we were not allowed a pacer. And so then that was on the 3rd night. I was by myself for a 16-mile section. And so then you just go off through there, the 2, and then you meet up with the team again, and then go from there. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
How'd you get? You got a whole team of people, and so they came out and they run basically like a marathon with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't ever ask me to pace with you. I'm just going to tell you right now, you'll leave me in the dust. So, 3 miles in, I'm going to be walking.
And some of that, again, though, too, is, a lot of people ask this, like a common question is, well, out of those 257 miles, like, what's your pace? Like, how much of that did you actually run? A lot of that is hiking and stuff as well, because, I mean, you're going to have a monster section to where you're climbing in that, or
oh my gosh.
Then it got to a point there, too, to where I was, had just, I mean, honestly, just blisters completely just slowed me down. And so then people were, my pacers with me, and you're only allowed one at a time. And so then,
the idea of climbing in the middle of that, I mean,
actual climbing or just elevation? Like when you say climbing, do you mean like using your hands? Or do you just mean it was steep?
Yeah, in one section, yes. We were definitely on all fours.
And here I am. If I go 2 or 3 miles and it gets slightly elevated, I'm like, oh, my poor legs. And you're like, mile 100, and I'm climbing a mountain.
But I tell you what, in Sedona stuff as well, that was the section we were just talking about. It's where you're actually on all fours. You're going up. And you turn around and you just look, and it's just the most amazing, beautiful scenery you've ever seen in your life. So it's like you completely forget about that climb that you're just doing and how dangerous it was and all that stuff too. And you turn around and you look, and it's like, it's breathtaking. And that was at mile like 170 or something like that. So it's like,
So you always talk about having some sort of transcendent moment in all of your. What do you call them? Ultras, right?
Yeah.
That's the language. You're an ultra marathoner. They're called ultras. Anything over what is considered technically an ultra?
Anything over a marathon. So anything over 26.2 miles.
Is considered
so
an
technically,
ultra.
Like your first ultra would be a 50K is the most common. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you always talk, which, you said this in, a few years ago when you were on this, but just quickly, concisely, why do you do this?
A couple different reasons. Definitely, my why is spiritual. My why is my daughter. Again, I think that too many people hold themselves back to what they are actually capable of what their potential is. I think you've talked about capacity before as well. I think we don't know what our capacity is. We don't know what our potential is and stuff too. And so then I want to truly lead by example for my daughter and show her that anything is possible.
Well, on that note, Tim, you have daughters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The things I'm trying to do right now just to show them the capacity is pretty incredible too. I will say, I mean, if you want to talk about what I did to show my daughter's capacity, was one time I did a golf-a-thon.
Wow.
And so you think running 257 miles is hard? Let me just tell you, try playing 84 holes of golf in one day.
What? Is that real?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm just saying.
Yes. Take that.
Same thing.
Brock.
Yeah.
84 holes of golf with a golf cart, or 257 miles on your feet. It's basically the same thing. You're showing the next generation what your capacity is. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did to raise money. So.
Yeah.
I did literally. This was our first capital campaign, and and I'd heard about, like, I think at the time it was either Tommy Barnett or I can't remember if that's the dad's name. One of them was like running from Phoenix to LA to raise money from the Dream Center. I don't know if you remember that. And one of the Barnetts, I don't remember. It was the dad, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, he did that to raise money for that ministry. I don't want to run. What could I do? See how many holes of golf I can play. So I just got people to.
That's a pastor move right there.
It is a good move. I got people to sponsor and a certain amount of money per holes because you didn't know. And I did it over at Groveport, and I started at like 7 in the morning or whenever it was daylight, and I on a golf cart, and I did it all day until evening.
So you still did it for amazing cause, though.
Yeah, and so some
There you
people
go.
came along, and they were like, $5 a hole. How many can he play in a day? You know, most people go play golf. It's 18 hours. You play 4 hours. You play 18 holes, give or take. What are you going to do? 36 holes, you know. And I was like, nah, I was by myself. So I had some people who came along with me and, you know, from the church. And I had pacers, you know, in the golf cart with me. And they're called caddies. And so anyway, so both of us we're all about capacity.
Man.
You know what I mean? It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. And you did it
Is
for
that,
people.
I'm not challenging you. Is that really the reason you got into it?
So honestly, like the real, it is.
Like, I know
mean,
that's an
and
inspiration for you,
and
but
so I mean, to be honest with you, it was like there was, you know, when I did, we've talked about like when I did like my first ultra instead of 2, you know, when it was 37 miles. When I did that, it immediately was like, okay, what's next? I just wanted to keep on pushing myself to figure out. It's like, okay, what can I actually do?
Yeah.
And so then, and again, I've told you the Pat Tillman quote before as well, and I truly try to live that every day that I possibly can because I think there's too many times. So there's a voice in your head that leads you in the direction of the person you wish to become, but it's up to you whether or not to follow. And I think that in that quote, it's like when you listen to that, there are too many times that we want to do something, we think about doing something, but then how many times do you talk yourself out of doing it? Because maybe it sounds stupid, maybe you know, you think you can't do it. I don't have time to do that. And then, but how many things in life do you bypass because of that? And so then when I got done with that first ultra, it literally like it popped in my head. It's like you got to run 100 miles. And so I literally started just thinking about that. And it's like, okay, I can't do that. I can't do that. But then it just continued to just build every day. So it's like, okay. And so now,
You got a 1,000-miler coming up.
yeah. What do you have something next? I know you do.
Yeah.
Do you think part of this is an addiction?
Yeah,
to
so
adrenaline?
I literally was going to use that word. Are you sure you're just not an
and
addict?
to be 100% honest with you, and this might sound somewhat crazy and stuff there too, but at the same time, it's like when you go through, like, let's just say in a 100-miler, let's just say you spend 24, 26 hours going and just doing something completely difficult to where it's like your mind goes places it's never gone before. It just doesn't. It's the way that you're just trying to just focus mentally. It is so challenging instead of 2, and it's so exhausting. But at the same time, when you realize the breakthrough that you just did in that, it does become an addiction. I'll be 100% honest with you. During Cocodona, there was 4 or 5 times that I went through some crazy, crazy lows, massive lows. But then 6-8 hours later, I'm going through a massive high. And to where it's like just that constant roller coaster of those emotions. It honestly, as soon as you get through with it, it's like, oh my gosh, thank God that's done. But then it's like, when can we do it again? So yeah, it honestly has become an addiction.
It would be really fascinating to me if there was some way that you could measure the brain of runners, you know, whether it's an fMRI or a spec study or something like that, just to see, because I'm sure that there's so many different chemicals that are being released, and you talk about the lows and the highs, and the runner's high obviously is a chemical thing that gets released in the brain. It'd be interesting to see what happens along the journey of somebody runs that does one of those kind of races.
Yeah.
That should make its way into let's segue. So if you want to know more about Brock's running story and all that kind of stuff, maybe we can post to it or in the show notes. Or 3 years ago, you can go back and look for it. Brock Everhart looks like one of the long lost Avengers, and always has the coolest new bracelets. Check it out. But all of this running has also given way to book and business.
Yeah.
I don't know which one you want to start with, but this whole journey. I know we've talked a lot about. I mean, when we first had lunch at Harvest Moon like 3 or 4 years ago, you're like, I'm just kind of just wrestling through like all that I feel like is in me, but also my future, and so
Yeah, so it's we'll start with the book first because you and I had a pretty like in-depth conversation just right outside the front door and stuff. There's right after my first 100, to where I sat down after that, and to be honest with you, is like I will be the first to admit I'm an emotional guy at times, and so it was like after that first 100, it was just very interesting just on how to decipher all the emotions experienced during that and stuff as well. So I sat down and started writing like basically just a letter to my team that was there for me, the Pacers and the crew, just on everything that I experienced during that. Well, those pages just kept on just adding up, and you and I talked, and you're like, you know what, you should write a book. And so I'm like, well, I kind of am, I guess, and I didn't even realize that I was. It was just sitting down, typing out my thoughts, and just how therapeutic that is. For everybody that journals and stuff too is one thing, but just to sit down and just type out, and just maybe not even look at them until, you both have written books, and so I'm sure you've experienced this as well, but just going through that, and then later on, and then experiencing those emotions again after the fact, and reliving those moments as well. And I remember talking with you about it, and I was like, well, it may turn into a book, but no one will ever read this. And you pointed to my daughter, Bailey, and you said, yeah, but you know what? What if one person reads it, and what if it changes her life? And I'm like, we got to continue this, And so then, I kept on typing out my thoughts and everything as well, and it just kept on building and building. And then you and I have had several discussions about that, and then I used Cocodona a little bit as a mental workshop as well while I was out there on the trail and stuff. And it was like, you know what? I kind of need to change the format of the book. There's some things that I need to do a little bit differently, need to talk about. Because during the whole process and stuff, too, when I was writing the book.
You're just getting it out there.
Yeah. And it's like, just thinking about it and just getting my thoughts and emotions out there. And it's like, and then, that ended up turning back to where ended up going back 10 years in Sarah and I's faith journey and our spiritual journey and stuff too, to actually see like, okay, we always look at training for a race as being like 16 weeks. When I go back and I look, it's like, I've actually been training for this race for over 10 years. It's just one of those things again, to where it's like, what God has done in my life to prepare me for that one moment. And it's like, and then also I kind of feel like, if I have this thought come to my head, I truly believe that our conscience is God talking to us about something. It's like, you need to go out and do this because there may be a greater purpose in this. And I think that throughout this whole journey, I have definitely found one heck of a greater purpose than where I was at in life. Because honestly, it's like, going through that book and reading about where we started from, where we were at in a certain given time. And then Sarah and I struggle with infertility. It was a stressful time in our life, and not a lot of people know that. I haven't told a lot of people, but
you have now.
But now they do know. But it's one of those things again, to where it's like, with that circumstance in your life, what do you do with it? How do you use that, good or bad? And so then going back and writing that book, and then realizing again that too is kind of what the future starts to hold, and it's like, okay, what is my purpose in all this?
That's cool. Can I ask what?
Yeah.
You may not have the title or all that stuff. What is the just real quick central theme of the book?
Yeah. So actually, the title of the book is "Run with the Voice." Okay. So because basically what it is it's a memoir, but it's going back again though too, to where it's like, within my life, I see to where I was not always like this. Not at all. It's like, I remember when running was a punishment back in athletics, back in like high school and stuff as well, to where you could not, no, I'm not doing this. But again, though, too, just realizing where I was in life, and to where it's like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life and everything, too, to where then it just turned into a fitness journey. It's like, and stuff there too. But going back, how a couple life events, including the infertility and stuff as well, how that set me on a completely different path. And I think, again, though, too, when we look at those situations in our life, and then where it's led to now, just the training that came through all of that, and life moments and everything as well. And then I want other people to be able to realize maybe through that book, it's like how you can turn that into something for the positive when something may have been bad in your life too that happened to you. And what can you do to flip that around, flip the script?
That's cool. Yeah. I love that.
So would you say, central theme, you're taking lessons from the trail,
Absolutely.
life lessons to encourage people reading.
Yeah, because like you said, for instance, there too, is like, I'll have a spiritual encounter, or I'll, come back with some epiphany or something as well.
Yeah.
And we can talk about my major epiphany here in a minute. But with that is like, when we go out running instead of the two, like, if I run on the treadmill, I'm listening, watching podcasts.
Sure.
And then also it's like, if I'm road running, I'll listen to a podcast or listen to some music. But when I'm on the trail, I fully believe it's like, what if I'm supposed to hear something today? And so I just love to listen to the wind through the trees, love to listen to the trees, just love to listen to just whatever comes into my head. I just want to think about it. So Cocodona, for 257 miles, did not listen to anything except for my pacers
wow.
and what I, when I would talk with my team. Now I know a couple of the pacers there too. They would turn some music on their phones, and every once in a while instead of the two, and especially at the end, kind of celebrate just a little bit. It's like we're only 2 miles away, but for the most part, I just want to listen to what comes into my head and what am I supposed to hear in the moment.
That's cool though.
Yeah,
I really do think that's cool because I've done a little bit of running, not much, but even in moments, sometimes when you're running and you're by yourself out on the road, I feel like sometimes that's where you have these moments of just it's clear, everything. Like you can just hear your thoughts, you can hear your breath, you can hear there's something that happens in those moments. And I can't imagine what it's like when you're 80 miles in, or 200 miles in. I don't know if I'd want to hear my thoughts at that point.
Trust me,
this
it
sucks.
is scary.
Life's miserable. I want to die right now. Take me, God. I don't know what my thoughts would be.
Also, I want some Reese's.
Yeah.
Water.
Trust me, what you both just said, I have plenty of moments like that. I remember calling Sarah though too when I was like coming into mile 37. I was like, please tell me you have this one thing to drink, and please tell me you have this one thing to eat. She's like, yeah. I'm like, thank you, God.
But I'm sure,
read
like,
my mind.
That's crazy.
I'm sure the highs and lows are amplified though, because
Absolutely.
I mean, I cannot the high I feel after 10 miles. I cannot imagine what that would feel like after 100 miles.
Yeah.
But also the lows in between. And then, do you find yourself going through a process of starting to crave different things, like food,
Pizza?
Oh yeah.
like at the like.
Yeah.
I'm like I'll be running and like around mile 5 I'll be like, oh, you know what I would love. But then around mile 8 sometimes it shifts.
Yeah.
And then I get to 10 I'm like, oh. And then last time I don't know why this is so weird. I start craving the weirdest stuff. I was like, I went straight home because sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to go get a greasy whatever.
Yeah.
But for some reason this past time, maybe it was because it's so hot. I was like, I want to go home, drink a really cold water with electrolytes, and have 2 cups of yogurt and banana and peanut butter. I don't know
Very
why.
specific.
That's what my body was craving.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I played golf last night in the rain and I was starving and it was it was miserable and it was cold and rainy and all I wanted was a pizza from Shirky's. So I picked one up on the
Shirky's.
I do. I picked one up on the way home.
You know what?
I took my wife. Should I get? Because I was
Yeah.
trying to be good. I went on vacation. I'm like, I had a grilled chicken salad for lunch.
Yeah.
I had a Fairlife protein thing for breakfast. I'm like, I'm gonna be good. 7:30. No, I'm cold, miserable, wet, starving. Screw it. Get a pizza and make life better. And
I
it
will
did.
say it does make life.
It makes life better.
This past week, it doesn't make the scale
Didn't
better.
make- no.
It makes the scale bigger.
Oh.
But this past week, I actually had two pizzas. I'm not proud of
At
it.
the same time, like one time. sitting?
No, but one of them felt like it. I ordered one from Little Italy.
They're good. If you get
Really
the,
good.
you got to get the.
Oh, it's so good.
Did you get the hot honey zinger?
No.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah, I
one.
did.
It's
Yeah,
better
yeah.
than the other ones. You
You
got to
get
get
the cauliflower crust.
the hot.
Oh, it's so
And then
good.
you know what I give it a
So
second
good.
chance? Mikey's Late Night.
Oh, late night slice.
Yeah, because I had one like when I first moved here, but it was like one of the leftover ones, and
Yeah.
it was stale, and I was like, this is horrible. But I ordered a fresh pizza from Mikey's, and it's huge and like super thin. It was perfect.
Was it good?
Oh, so good.
Oh,
it was
man.
so good.
And we're glad you're here, but we've
Yes.
switched
Yeah,
the
yeah,
conversation.
yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna talk
about
pizza.
food.
I've got a
what
few
is-
conversations
we're
I want to have.
talking about tacos.
Okay.
We need to do tacos.
I'm
but
hungry.
like
I
even
did
that's
not
when you
eat
guys
much
talk
today.
about that too. It's like what's so funny is like you try to plan the best you possibly can for later in the race for what sounds good, what you're going to eat, because you need to make sure to keep up on your calories and on your carbs. But now all of a sudden, like everything you plan is like none of that sounds good.
None of it matters.
None of it. And it's like, this is what I want, you know? And so then hopefully the aid station that you're going to be coming into has something, because the race will be fixing stuff as well. But yeah, so it's like, and then sometimes you're just eating, it's like, I don't want to eat this, but I have to.
What does your recovery look like after 257 miles?
It was awful. I'm not gonna lie. It was, and mainly again two things. So again, I mentioned blisters. Blisters were not fun at all, and the recovery from that was pretty intense. To where it took several days to be able to walk like normally. Going through the airport, it was awful. That was not good. But
Wheelchair.
anyway, I'm not. I did.
I don't
Did
blame
you
you.
really?
I don't blame you.
First time ever, there was a guy on a cart, one of those motorized carts or whatever the two. And he's like, and I was limping down through there. And he looked at me, he's like, do you want to ride? And I was like, you know what? I would never in a million years do this. I was like, but today I'm going to.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah.
I was like, because this is just so painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, again, the two, when you're up for that longest of the two, I had swelling. And ankles and legs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean, did you book in some days there before you flew home, like a day or two to rest?
We finished on Friday and flew home on Saturday. So yeah, so
He got
but,
to see everything. What is it?
Yeah.
What does he need to stick around
Well,
for?
we were
He
also-
saw the entire
yeah.
state of Arizona.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true. I just didn't know what this did to the human body.
He didn't
yeah,
enjoy
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but honestly, it's like that day instead of the two, I didn't sleep for a week.
Yeah.
And that was what was pretty. I usually don't sleep that well after this stuff, but what was crazy is that I don't know if it was like PTSD. I don't know what it was, but I was almost having like nightmares in the middle of the night where I would wake up and this is at home, and I would wake up from like a dream or something too, to where a buddy was handing me a pair of shoes, and it's like, you got to get back out there,
Yeah.
No.
and I'm like, we're done. And he's like, no, you have to run it in reverse now. And I had that
my gosh.
That is a
dream
nightmare.
for 5
Oh my
nights in a
gosh.
row. And to where I would get up, I would go, use a restroom or something. And I'm still like debating all
Yeah.
this in my head. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to go back out there. And I go back to bed and I'm like, I'm just going to lay for 5 more minutes. And if they wake me up, and then all of a sudden it just pops in my head, I'm like, I'm at home. I'm not in Arizona anymore.
Oh,
And so that was something that I mean, again, it'll take a couple days, like even after 100 for me just to kind of just finally relax. I think the adrenaline rush, just
yeah.
everything finally like, okay, it's time, you can do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so mentally, it's been amazing being able to talk with so many people about it every day. I've had literally a conversation every day about it for 3 weeks now.
I love this. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, not to be cheesy, there's so many parallels we could pull out.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, in the faith life, it's a race that we run.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we could talk about how we all need pacers
Yeah.
that walk with us through the really difficult seasons and help us know where we're going.
Yeah.
And talk through us. I think we talk about the power of recovery.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about the power of God speaks to us through His Spirit, through Scripture, through messages, but also through nature. It's one of the main ways you actually see all through Scripture that God speaks to us through nature that most of us don't experience anymore.
Yeah.
I just had lunch with somebody that's going through a really busy season of life, and for some reason, this phrase came to me of a book I read a couple years ago called "Get Your Life Back," talking about the difference between relief and restoration. So often I'm tempted for relief, not restoration. Relief is mostly of the flesh. Restoration is mostly of the soul. Relief is better because it's instant.
That's good.
Restoration is usually slow, usually comes through some silence, usually comes through reflection, a lot of times through nature. It's a slow, meandering process. Therapy.
I mean, it's, it's no quick fix for
No.
major stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's transition to the other piece, which is you felt such a calling through running and other pieces, not only to write a book, but to start a business and change careers,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is pretty new.
Yeah. So it's
Tell the story, because the day that you made this decision was probably the greatest day
Yeah.
of the year.
Yeah.
Probably the greatest day every year.
Yeah. So and again,
Because of
it came
who was born on that day. But go ahead. I didn't know if, sorry.
Yeah. So but
on Christmas? Wow.
it was
Yeah,
actually so
yeah.
Or a couple days after.
Yeah, it might have been a couple days after,
Yeah.
like 2.
So it was so honestly, again though too, it came on a run. And it was, but so
The idea?
basically, I was, just my epiphany, I guess you want to call it anyway,
Okay.
too. So I was in the medical world for 20 plus years, but it's actually Friday the 13th, October 13th, 2023. I did my first solo rim to rim to rim run at the Grand Canyon. So I ran from the south rim to the north rim, and as I was coming back that day, I realized I had been by myself for like 2 or 3 miles. So just imagine you're in the bottom of the Grand Canyon, not a soul around, nothing going on. But again, though, too, like you're just listening to nature. You can hear the stream running down through there. There's a creek and just the water, just whatever. But so I look to my right and I look up and I see like the canyon wall. And so then, over to my side. And so I look over to my left and I see the canyon wall. And then all of a sudden I look up in front of me. So just a couple miles or something there too. And the way that the canyon works is it kind of zigzags through, to where it looks like, that's why they call it the box when you're down at the bottom. Because then you look behind me and stuff as well, and it looks like there's a canyon wall. It looks like you're almost trapped in this box. And so I look up, and it was literally the bluest of blue skies you'd ever see in your life. And it was amazing. And I just stood there and I just soaked it in for a minute, because I like to tell other people though too, is that sometimes the pace doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You have to just sit back sometimes and just embrace the moment of where you're at, especially being in the Grand Canyon like that. And I had the greatest peace, the greatest solitude that I've ever experienced in my life. Just overcame me to where, I kind of hate to say it this way, but there could have been anything happening in the world, and I just didn't care. I just didn't. It was just like, this is just amazing. Like, if heaven was on earth right now, this would be it. This is what it feels like. But then all of a sudden, I just felt again, though, too, it's like you're not in life where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be doing something completely different. And stress, a lot of things that led up to that, to where I'll be 100% honest with you, is like, I wasn't fully happy. I feel like I wasn't living a purposeful life. I feel like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. But in that moment right there, though, too, it was just, it really overcame me. So that took about 2 to 3 months to figure out, to decipher. So then through that, a few months
And
later,
you process this with people.
yeah, I talked with, and that, I talked with Sarah about that. I talked to several people about that, and it's kind of like, well, and again, though, too, it's not like I was looking for someone to give me the answer,
Right.
but it's like, again, having a pacer with you, having a crew with you, having friends around you, just having a good team of people around you and stuff, though, too, being surrounded by amazing people, it's like, man, it's like, what does this mean? And it's like, you're not looking for answers, but at the same time, that's why it took 3 months. And all of a sudden, I had a conversation with somebody else that basically said, people just need help in taking care of themselves. And I'm like, that's it. It's like, I'm supposed to be a personal trainer. I want to be a coach. And so then kind of, I love fitness. I love running. And it's like, that's what I need to do. I need to start working at that. So I started working on my certifications for that. End up running with some, I got to back up real quick and give Sarah, my wife, massive credit. So I told her that day, though, too, I was like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. And she's like, you do realize I told you a year ago that's what you should be doing. And I was like,
all
I
of
know.
that, and you should have just listened to your wife.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
I heard a word from the Lord.
But at the
I
same
think
time,
your wife said that
yeah,
a year ago.
listen, right,
You didn't even need to
exactly.
go to the Grand Canyon.
Right,
Yeah.
But the trip in the Grand Canyon, well, it solidified it. But then that's when it just fully resonated with me. And so then, the year goes along. I'm working on my certifications. I'm getting the certifications. And then a group of buddies and I were, again, running in Hocking Hills, trail running, a big group of us. They pulled me to the side, and they were like, you know what? And that night, we talked about it around a campfire as well. They were like, you need to start your own business. And I was like, oh, I couldn't do that. And it's like, no, and this is why. And so then about 2 weeks later, started my own business. And so it's like, I'm going to go ahead and start, a strength and endurance coaching business. I want to work with people. I want people to have their Grand Canyon moment. It doesn't have to be in the Grand Canyon, but I want them to experience a moment just like that in their lives, though, too. Is like maybe they're doing something, a goal or whatever it was that they thought that they could never do, and now they're doing it.
Yeah.
So, so that's when Build Pursuits was born. We did that, and then as I'm going through this, I'm making connections, meeting amazing new people around town. So the two, my buddy who does these adventures with me and stuff as well, his name's Cody, and he's working with me, helping me build this thing. And I had a conversation with a physical therapist, and at that moment we were talking, and I was like, this is going to sound completely dumb, it may sound whatever, so simple. I was like, but I can't do it if I'm not doing it. I cannot do this business. I cannot focus on this business if I'm not actually doing the business. If I'm constantly in my other position, if I'm doing my in the medical field and stuff as well. And so then I think about a week later, I resigned from my position of 20 plus years in the medical world and stuff as well. And and Sarah she was fully supporting me 100%. I am so blessed to have her in my corner, just to talk about this stuff as well. But
Were they shocked?
Yeah. That's one word.
Can I ask this? In the months leading up, did you start saving up for this new era of your life transition?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was So definitely it was one of those things again to where it was definitely had the savings, had everything available. Not everything available, but definitely had the savings.
A couple mil tucked away.
Yeah, just at least a couple. But
running
under the
pays
bed.
a lot.
Yeah, right. But had that available though too, to where, but still, even at that, it's that leap of faith, and just even but I won't be making a paycheck.
Yeah.
I won't have a paycheck coming in.
Yeah.
And that right
Yeah.
there, and I know
Scary.
you've been in that position before as well, and it's that is so scary. And it's I have a wife, I have a daughter, we have a mortgage, we got bills.
Yeah.
It's how can I do this? But at the same time, we were just talking this past Sunday during our service and stuff as well. Pastor Zach said something. I'm about the Lord will provide. And I'm and he has.
Mm-hmm.
He just has. And so then basically, that, was building a business, working on that, coaching athletes. That right there has it's been amazing. It has been so much fun.
So lay out the business. I mean, and the website looks awesome, by the way.
I've not been to it.
Thank
It
you.
looks really cool.
Let me pull it up while you're talking.
And for anybody listening,
what is it?
buildpursuits.com.
BuildPursuits.com. Yeah.
But I mean, because from my understanding, it's holistic. There's personal training. There's different layers, levels. So if somebody were to go to your website, there's different options. What are the different layers of your business?
Yeah. So as of right now, again, so what we're so let's just say you want to run a half marathon, and so I will help you develop a plan, and we're going to work with you every day on getting to that point. But also say you want to do just strength training. So I'll develop a plan, and I'll get you to where say you want to lose 5 pounds, and you want to, whatever in your strength journey as well. I'll get you there. But then also, again, it's so this is kind of leading to something else that you and I have not discussed as well. But then it's want to be in a gym setting to where then people can come in, but it's just being able to work with even in that setting to where I can put on an app to give you your plan, to give you your structure for your day. I'm working with people just not even in this area, that's outside of this area. And so the two have talked to other people about it and stuff as well, that's across the country.
Yeah.
It's been amazing, and it's in other states right now, the two, helping a guy that wants to run the Grand Canyon, something like that, so, but then also again, how can I help you logistically with your races? How can we, build a plan to where, again, if you want to do Cocodona, how can I help you with that in the logistics? Because I love logistics, honestly. I think it's amazing. Just to sit down and plan, how can I get you there? How can we be successful in everything that you do? And how can I get you back home safely? And so then, so kind of in that structure as well of being in a facility, so we went back to the Grand Canyon in April of this year, the two, and got to talking about being in a facility itself. And so now in the process of me and my buddy Cody, again, the two, of opening our own facility.
Dang.
So we're looking at that right now. We have the quotes, and we have everything in place to get that going, to where then when you come in, I want to train you for what your goals are.
Whoa, don't look at me.
So
Why did
then-
you look at me right there?
Because you're going to be in here. But the
Lord.
testing, the training that goes into that, but then also how can we focus on recovery as well? Because again, the two, from the things we just talked about, it's but how can I help you recover better after that to where you can get back to your daily living as well? And so there's definitely different aspects of that we're currently looking at. Again, the logistics side of it. But how can we help you in your athletic journey, but also, again, anybody that wants to be better in their everyday life, how can I help you be better? And so then that's what our main focus is. Because again, I don't expect someone to go out and run 100 miles. That's not my intentions. If you want to, that's amazing. I'm going to help you get there. But also at the same time, I want to be able to help you in whatever your goals are in your life to help you just live a better, healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to update this because it says currently in
know.
training for your second rim to rim to rim.
Yeah, and those two
And Cocodona.
I've been a little busy the past few
250.
weeks.
Listen, you've already accomplished those. You can move those to your resume.
Yeah. So now it's speaking of Cocodona, that I'm on the wait list for next year. It's
Whoa.
looking like I'm going to be in again. So that's definitely the goal on that. So I'll update that to run.
There's
my
a
second
wait
Cocodona.
list of crazy people wanting to
Why?
run
There actually
257
is.
miles.
Yeah, there
What
is
is
a
wrong
wait
with you
list.
guys?
I'm high up on the wait list.
You're high.
So, but at the same time, so hopefully we're back into that, and then also rim to rim to
Yeah.
rim will be another training run as well. So
Wow.
yeah. So then that's
You're
and-
inspiring. You almost make me want to go run. I'll
you
leave
know-
it at that. You almost make me want to go run. I don't still want to run, but listening
Why
to
don't you like to run?
I don't mind it. It's just I don't.
It's not your favorite.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's just putting up a front. That's all
Yeah,
there is
I don't
to it.
mind it. I told you I did a little bit of running. I went to Florida, and I usually go to the gym when I'm there. And it just timing didn't work. I only went, I think, 3 days, 2 or 3 days, because it's kind of 15 miles away, and I get up and the family wants to do stuff. So if I get up in the morning early enough, so then one morning I decided I was like, I'm gonna, you know what? I don't have time to do that. I'm gonna go for a run. And so I ran about 2.5. I did walk a little bit, but I did run most of it. And I was really proud of myself because
Yeah.
I do cardio, but I
Yeah.
don't typically run.
I will say there's something. It's probably the weather, but since moving to the Midwest, like it's probably a psychological thing in me that I've really fallen in love with running the last 3 or 4 years. Because I'm like, whenever it gets nice outside, I'm like, I can't be cooped up in a gym.
Yeah.
I've got to go run.
Yeah. That's
And-
great.
Yeah.
And
Maybe I will. You're inspiring. I just want to say it's been fun to watch your journey, even from a distance, just in the last few years, to even having you on this podcast 3 years ago, talking about doing your
That's
50
before
50 miler, right?
Yeah, so that it was a 37 mile.
37
so
50K.
60K right before
60K.
that.
So
Then getting ready to do our first 100.
yeah, you were thinking about doing your first 100. To that, the running thing, I mean, I think you've already kind of proven. I don't know where the end of human ability is in strength. I mean, it's like 250. Okay, we're going to go to the 500 next, and then we're going to, it's, and people just keep doing it. But I think all the other things I'm actually probably more impressed by. Just the not only your growth and your ability to kind of like recognize maybe when God's leading you to pursue something you're passionate about, how you can make a difference, but also working on and trying to finish, writing a book and taking the leap of faith to start your own business and to leave your job and career. A lot of people don't know what it's like to do that kind of big thing where you walk away from a job and something that's stable in career and start something new.
And I think it's one of those things, again, like in the moment, yeah, it's super, super scary. But then afterwards, it's kind of like, then you realize, like, wait just a second, I did that?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
I don't know. But I think, again, that's when it's important. Just the support system around me has been amazing. It truly has. And I think, again, that, too, is just learning how to become more faithful and listening and just trying.
It sounds so cliche, but just conversations I've had with people recently, people I know that have had health struggles or lost people, or just even a podcast I was listening to this morning about the more you realize how short life is, the more like you just don't want to live trapped in existence.
That's it.
Yeah.
You want to do what you have to do to be fully alive, and it looks different for different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't just shirk your responsibilities on a day. Sometimes it's. I had a conversation. I'll just give him a shout out. I think it was Luke, one of the our college guys here at the church, and he was telling me about the 2 jobs he's working, and one of them's in the hospital. And for him, it's different. He was like, I was like, how are you loving it? He goes, I love it. He goes, I could literally just stay there all day long. He goes, I leave after 12-hour shifts and feel so energized. He was like, I love taking care of people. Like, you could just tell, like, he's like, I could do it 80 hours a week and just feel great. He's like, but then he has this other job, and he was like, like, I think it's at a restaurant or something 3 days a week. And he's like, I don't love it, but man, I'm having so many opportunities to like build friendships and like talk to people about Jesus. And like, and you could and I'm like, man, just listening to him inspired me. And I said, you are the perfect example. I said, right now you have 2 jobs. One of your jobs has intrinsic meaning. The other job, you're bringing meaning to it. And I think anybody that's listening that's like, you know what, I'm not ready to like run a Cocodona 250 and I can't quit my job. I do think we can all be working towards a job that has intrinsic meaning
Yeah.
And in the meanwhile, bring meaning to our job.
Yeah.
Micah was cutting my hair last week, and he goes, "You know how I know I'm old?" And I was like, "How?" He's like, "I get annoyed by bad customer service." And I'm like, "Thank you." We
Yes,
talked about that on this podcast.
yes.
But that's an example. Maybe you're working. Maybe you don't have a passion for coffee, which you're working at a coffee shop. There's such a difference when you go to a coffee shop when you can tell
Oh, yeah.
I'm somehow an inconvenience to your day, even though I'm bringing you service, to the person who has a smile on their face and bringing joy and service to what they're doing. They make your day, and you can tell it's making their day.
Yeah.
And
I've got a friend like that he's retired military. His wife, CFO for Fortune whatever company. You know, he's kind of like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I need benefits. He went and got a part-time job at Starbucks. I mean, these guys, he's probably 50-something years old, right? Military career, full-time military career, all this stuff. And he not only loves it, you know, he did it just for some benefits. When they did it, he went down there. He works Monday through Friday, first shift, like 5 a.m. to like 9 or 10. He dictates his hours.
Yeah.
He is the most beloved person in that community, like at that Starbucks. Like people, he would tell me, because but he's one of those guys that he's full of life and energy, and he doesn't just go up and make up heck and all that. He is like, he's like a cartoon character, and he brings that energy to it, and people literally drive there and wait in line so they can see him in the morning. Literally, one person, he said, had a kid that came when he was off. I forget what he was doing. He was scheduled off, and the kid started crying because Jimbo wasn't there. It's like one of those things. It does not matter what you do. I love that point. Whether you're a barista at Starbucks, you're working in a hospital, or you're running.
In all those people's lives that he's changing for that day, though, too.
Oh, he
You know,
he puts a smile. He is a character. You ever met him? He is a character. But I think that's what and so a lot of people, they come there daily and whatever, but he picks them up.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of to that point. Of he
so
brings
cool.
meaning, he brings life, he brings energy to it.
Yeah.
So cool.
And so it doesn't matter the job, the role. It's really about what you bring internally to it. And so I love that. And
yeah, and I think that's kind of what you were saying there too. Is that I you know, even with just at the end of the day, it's like, did you do everything that your heart desired? And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, did you just live a life to where it's like you just went through each day and just to make it through the day.
Yeah.
But then you left so much on the table that you wanted to do, that you wanted to experience, you wanted to travel and see, that you wanted to write a book, but you never did.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you just didn't want to take the time to do that.
You've also done something that I think is really important. I think for some people it's hard psychologically to do. You've believed in yourself enough to invest in yourself. You've not only taken the risk, you've not only signed up for the miles. You go to Pastor Tim has an entrepreneur circle once a month, and you go and you surround yourself with that. You'd already finished the book. You signed up, paid money for the writer's course.
Yeah.
And joined a group of people just to say, how can I have community? How can I get better? How can I, advance my craft?
Because I mean, we can all be better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing again, though, too, is that the day that you think that you know everything, that's not good. And so I think that even, being in the, you just constantly have to be willing to grow.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing is that, and that's what these races continue to show me and tell me and stuff that too, is like, okay, I had that one moment, those 5 moments of absolute disaster. What can I do different next time? How can I be better next time? But then also, like, again, how can I show my daughter next time and stuff that too, is that, when your day doesn't go the way that you want it to, how can you flip the script, and how can you bring joy to that? How can you bring any form of, what, it's okay. It's just okay.
Yeah.
If I was a cheesy preacher, I'd say, if you just stay faithful with the miles, you'll eventually experience the miracles that are
And it's super true.
Or the
in
high.
between.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you for being on
Yeah.
here,
Yeah,
coming
thank
back
you.
and just updating not only just us personally, because this is kind of like us catching up. But
Yeah.
just I didn't know you wrote a book, so that was new for me at this one. I knew about the business, but I'm proud of you, man.
We haven't written the book yet, so I mean,
Well, It's coming together.
You're
done,
rewriting it
but
right now.
rewriting it.
I'm getting ready to rewrite it instead of two, but
That's okay.
Yeah, so it's like I think that when it's actually sitting on a shelf somewhere, then that means that I wrote the book. But at the same time, I mean,
No, that means you released the book.
Yeah.
Those are two different things.
In Pastor Russo's Institute, there's a lot of words in that book that need to be
Oh.
taken out right now.
Yeah.
So it needs to be.
There's a lot.
I know you guys have talked about Pastor Russ's books
Oh.
before, though, too. In my book, there's a lot.
Can you just tell me how many words you're sitting at right now?
I remember.
Yeah, it's over 100,000. So it's
Yeah.
like
No.
105. So
Yeah.
I wrote more since we.
No, the last time we talked was 130.
Oh, maybe it is 130.
Oh, my.
Okay, I guess again.
That's called a series.
My,
That's called volumes.
and him
Volume
and I have talked
1,
about that before as well.
volume
Remember, you can't write a
2.
second book.
Yeah.
We need to kind of like, hey, you've already got 2 books written now.
Yeah.
So once you figure out the structure,
Right.
now you've got 2 or 3 books to
But
release.
here's my theory: put it all in there, and then you can always take it out. So rather than I would
Sure.
prefer that way rather than
Yeah.
someone tell me it's like I need to know more about this.
Right.
And why didn't you tell me more
Right.
about that? And why? But now it's
Yeah,
like
and with
there's-
each book, you find more and more of your rhythm.
Yeah.
I mean, you really do.
That's cool.
And that's even in the chapters of this book, I found my rhythm compared to other ones as well. And so there's
Yeah.
definitely-
And
That
I think
happens.
whether it's
Yeah.
this book or another one, when you were retelling, because I didn't realize, or maybe I'd forgotten, that it started with you writing a letter to your pacers. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
I think a theme of one of your books is like a letter to the pacers, like a letter to.
Yeah, I feel like you could spin off some stuff. Like there's a
Yeah.
whole thing about Pacers.
Yeah, there's so
Which
much
is-
stuff
like,
that
there's so many
happens out
things you
there
could
that-
do, but
yeah, so much stuff.
I
that-
love it.
Yeah, so a lot of
Awesome.
thoughts.
All right,
Thanks
well,
for being here, man.
You
Thank
for
you. Thank you,
taking
thank
a
you.
break from Thor and helping coach the what's the new Marvel movie? The
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts, great movie. One of the few that I like.
Didn't see it.
Didn't
Yeah,
see it?
haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one either.
But you need to coach the rest of the Avengers.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us. Show us
thank
your
you guys.
bracelet again.
Oh, there you go. So it's a little broken right now from the tree.
What's the brand?
So it's actually prayer I share. So Proverbs 30:30 definitely was a verse that I definitely just spoke to me big time. The lion, the mightiest of beasts, who doesn't retreat from anything. And so I think again though too, it's go after it.
Go after it. I love it.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
So,
Thanks
yeah.
for joining us.
Thank you.
Be on the lookout next year for Running with the Voice
Oh, yeah.
or Letters to the Pacers
Or
or Miles with the Avenger. And you will pick up some epiphanies
There you go.
along the way. It's going to be great. All right. But seriously, check out buildpursuits.com.
Pursuits.com. Yeah.
And whether you're, from what I'm hearing, it's coaching. Whether you're a beginning runner or you're advanced running,
Yeah,
looking
absolutely.
to be an ultra marathoner, whatever,
even if
or
you wanna
just to
run
get
your
in
first
shape.
mile.
Yeah.
Get in shape.
get some
Yeah.
help.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Get
Yeah.
some help. All right. Thank you, Brock. Thank you for
you.
joining us. Until next time, we will see you next week. Hey guys, it's Russ. Thanks so much for listening. We really believe if we can get around tables instead of behind screens, if we can talk to each other instead of at each other, we can make the world better. To help us do that, here are a few things you can do to help. First, if you haven't yet, leave a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe on YouTube. This helps more than you know. Also, if you have been impacted by the community out of which this podcast comes, that's X Church. Maybe you're local or you've been touched by the messages and impact across the country, even the world. I want to encourage you to support this work. A powerful life principle is to invest in the people and places that invest in you. And so I want to invite you to do that right now by going to thex.church/give. You can give a one-time small gift, a sacrificial gift, or even become a recurring partner. Together, let's keep elevating the conversation, thinking higher, loving deeper, and making the world better. Cheers.